this. Can I blow the screen up that I'm looking at?
You should be at the bottom right corner is the sand.
Okay, I'm good.
Okay. All right, we are live.
All right. Coming in. Welcome to everyone that's joining us tonight. Got a few more people come in. Welcome, welcome, welcome.
Waiting to see who all's joining, or can only the host see who's all joining?
I think it's just us.
Yeah, what you can do is you can actually join the live stream on your personal phone. Like you can go to it and share it to your page. You can actually see it yourself. Just, I think you just have to have the sound off and mute. Otherwise you'll have, yeah. All right, brothers, y'all ready to get started on today?
Yes, sir.
All right. First of all, for those who are out there joining us, definitely want to welcome you to another episode of PNL TV with the collaboration with the DFW Alphas Coalition. So first we want to start with introductions. First of all, my name is Denard Andrews, current president of the Rodney Lambda chapter of Alpha Phi Alpha Fraternity Incorporated. And I will pass the floor to Walter. Let's go that way.
I'm Brother Walter Heron, the current vice president for the Rodney Lambda chapter of Alpha Phi Fraternity Incorporated. Let's go and swing it to Brother Forrest.
I'm Forrest Jackson, the current vice president of Alpha Sigma Lambda chapter of Alpha Phi Alpha Fraternity Incorporated.
Brother Hawkins.
Good evening. I am Brother Jared Hawkins. I am the social chair for the New Lambda chapter of Alpha Phi Alpha Fraternity Incorporated.
Good evening. My name is Eric Wilson. I am the chair of Hopeless People for Alpha Sigma Lambda.
We can barely hear you, Brother Wilson.
Yeah, turn your mic up a little bit.
Yeah.
Turn the mic up.
Kanye West, speak up, bro.
I am Joshua Rivers, the social action chair for Beta Tau Lambda, and that is in Fort Worth, Texas.
All right. Definitely want to welcome the good brothers to the panel. I know we're going to have a few brothers that will be joining us later in the stream due to prior events that they had going on, so they'll join us, so they'll pop in when you see us. But as you know, we started the DFW Alphas Coalition to talk about making sure that we're in the voter education piece for this election season. So today we are talking through and what's on your ballot, part 2. So we're going to go through some voting tips that are especially targeted from our election judges that we have on the panel today. Eric. We're going to talk through some key races by county that we want to make sure that we want to keep an eye on as we go to the polls. And then we're going to be focusing on some of the judges, the Texas Supreme Court, Court of Criminal Appeals, and all of the different judge type positions that we'll be voting on or have voting on when it comes to the ballot. Then at the end, we'll do a Q&A, and then we'll wrap up and do closing remarks. First, I want to say who was able to go early vote today? I know I did. How was y'all's experience?
Mine was cool. I was in line for about 35 minutes.
Okay.
So it was good.
And where did you ever vote at, brother Jackson?
I voted in my city in Glen Heights.
Awesome.
Okay.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, mine wasn't too bad. I did wait in line about an hour and a half, but it was well worth the wait. Once I got in there, smooth process in and out.
Okay. It wasn't too bad up here. I'm in Collin County, and the polling place by me, I think I got there. The line wasn't terribly long. I think I waited about 15, 20 minutes. They had quite a few election judges there. They had quite a few poll workers. I tried to count how many machines they had, but it was at least 40. So I think they were well prepared for the volume of people. And I went around 11, 12 lunchtime, and it wasn't terribly bad at all. Okay. All right. With that said, let's go and get over to voting tips. So, Brother Forrest, Brother Eric, I will give you guys the floor. I think Brother Forrest, you're going to share information with us.
I'm going to do my best, brother.
Okay.
Let's see. Share screen. Okay. Okay, I have two, so I need to select the one I'm sharing. Is that what it is?
Yes, with the screen.
Okay. There we go. Is that?
There you go.
All right. Well, again, thanks everybody for joining. Again, I'm Brother Forrest Jackson, and I'm joined today by Brother Eric Wilson. We are both, I'm hearing some feedback, and it's kind of driving me crazy, but we are both election judges in Dallas County. And we're going to share with you today some voting tips, basically what to expect at the poll from the time that you set foot on the voting property to the time you drop your ballot in the voting machine and head out. A lot of great tips. Now, the majority of these slides that we will deal with are statewide. So there's state rules and regulations, laws, etc., that are being observed by all counties in the state of Texas. But we're also going to drop some links in and some videos for Dallas County and Collin County and a few contiguous counties. I believe we have Dallas County, Tarrant County, Collin County, Denton County, and that may be it. We would have a presentation about 5 hours long if we tried to touch on every contiguous county to Dallas-Fort Worth. So we just did the meat of it, the larger counties in the area, and that's what we'll focus on. Let me get this in presentation mode. That would be best. Brother Wilson, you have anything? Brother Wilson? Okay. Oh. Hopefully I'm still on the screen. Can everybody hear me?
There you go, brother.
Hear me?
Speak up a little bit. Yes, we can hear you.
Okay. Bear with me a little bit. I'm trying to get okay, let me see. Maybe I won't be able to do it like that. I thought I'd be able to go in presentation mode in here, but maybe not. Okay.
Are you on two different screens?
I am. How do I get the presentation mode on?
You'll have to share the screen
Share the other screen?
The other screen where the presentation mode.
Okay, give me just a second.
You can, yeah.
I think Brother Wilson was trying to say something earlier. Yeah, I think your microphone's still low, brother.
Okay, this isn't going to work, so we're gonna.
I can see the full screen now.
Yes. Yeah.
Okay, can you see me?
No.
We can.
We get pushed to the side.
Okay,
It puts
that's fine.
Yeah.
That's
Yeah.
fine because I can't see you guys anymore. So, but we're gonna
No.
we're gonna roll with it just like it is. Okay. So
All right.
this is good. I want the public to be able to see the presentation and presentation view. So again, this is 2020 vote election day. What to expect at the polls? And Brother Wilson, is he being heard right now? Okay. So I'll roll until Brother Wilson gets his technical difficulties straightened out. So when can I vote? Obviously, today starts early voting, and early voting lasts until the end of the month. I believe that should be the 31st. So that's something we'll correct. But today, I'm sorry.
Oh, never mind. I'll just test my mic.
Okay, you're on now. So early voting began today and will last until the end of the month, 7 a.m. to 7 p.m. everywhere. I was in line today and I heard a lady drive up and say, "What time do they close?" And I said to myself, this has to be her first time voting because the polls have been 7 to 7 since as long as I can remember. But it's 7 to 7 all across the state. If you're in line at 7 p.m., you can vote. So make sure you're not disenfranchised. If you're in line at 7 p.m. and they try to tell you you can't vote, raise a little HE double hockey sticks, as my daughter called it.
Doesn't it change on Sundays, though?
I'm sorry?
Doesn't the voting time change on Sunday?
Yes, Sunday.
Yeah.
Early. Yeah.
Right. And general election also, November the 3rd, 7 a.m. to 7 p.m. Where is my location? These are links to that you can, this is a live document, everyone. So if you're interested in receiving this document at the end of this presentation, we'll have an email address where you can email us and we will send you this document. But these are live links, and Dallas County, Tarrant County, Collin County, Denton County. Just click on the link and it will take you to that county's prospective site. Put in whatever information it asks for, and it will tell you where to vote, where your nearest location is, etc. For election day, please find your polling location and sample ballots by going to the following below. So this is very, very critical, okay? One thing we are really good at is registering folks to vote and getting people to vote. Well, kind of getting people to vote. But one thing that we all need to do better with is knowing who we're voting for when we get there, doing a little bit of research before we get to the polls so we can make an informed decision when we get to the polls. One thing that can help you with that is a sample ballot. You can actually go to your county's voting administration, the department, whatever it's called, and get a sample ballot. Put in your information, whatever information it requests, your address, your name, etc., and it will give you the ballot as you will see it when you go to the polls. Every race, every person, every whatever is there that you can peruse and do a little research before you go to the poll, so you'll know who you're voting for. Now, I understand that because this is a Democratic and Republican race, it's a general race, and most people vote either way. You may just go straight down the ballot and vote whatever your party of choice is. But for future references, this is very vital because you will have Democratic primary races, Republican primary races, where you have 3, 4, 5 candidates, and you need to discern which one you're going to vote for. So these links are really, really important in upcoming races. Maybe not so much for this one, but for upcoming races, they're definitely going to be critical. So please keep an eye on those.
And let me just add on to that. The ballot, the sample ballot that you print out, you can actually take that into the polling location with you to help you to vote. I don't know about you, but I don't know if I can remember 40 something names on the ballot and different propositions. But this is a great tool to use. Just speaking from an election judge, you can bring this in, but again, just be careful that you don't step across the line of electioneering, going in and saying who you're going to vote for, making comments, things of that nature. That type of thing is not tolerated, but you are able to take this in with you and use this as you go down to fill out your own ballot.
All right. You want to take this slide, brother? Or you want me to keep rolling?
You got it.
Okay, so a great feature that they have now, and we just talked about this when we started, was, how was your experience going to vote today? And everybody talked about how long it took them in line. So we have Dallas, Tarrant, and Collin County. We could not find the one for Denton County. I'm sure they have it, but they actually have a portal where you can go on to put your information in wherever you're voting, and it will tell you how long the lines are in the areas that you're looking, whatever area you put in, whatever location or zip code or whatever, however it's set up, it will tell you how long the line is at each polling location. So again, this is a great, like Eric said, a great tool. For those of you who did not vote today, you can have this for tomorrow if you request this presentation. Go ahead with what if you have moved, brother.
All right. So what if I moved? What if we get this all the time? Individuals will move between the year, within the year, and so it's not time to vote. So depending on when you moved and where you moved from may have an impact on your ability to be able to vote. So if you move within the county that you're registered to vote, you're good. So if you move within Dallas, or let's say Dallas, move from Oak Cliff to Pleasant Grove to Duncanville, you're good. Tarrant County, the same. Within Tarrant County, you're able to vote. So what if you moved and you registered to vote and has not become effective? I'm sorry. If you've moved and your voter registration has not become effective in your new precinct, then you're going to have to go back to where you're registered to vote. Okay. So let's say
hold on, brother. Not necessarily. Like if you're in the same county, right? And you move from precinct to precinct.
Yeah, precinct.
Right. So, and that new registration has not taken effect. You can go back to your old county if that's what's showing on your license, if you choose to do that. But if you live in East Dallas, do you want to drive to West Dallas to do that? Probably not. You can sign, and everybody please take note of this. It's called a statement of residence, right? Mm-hmm. A statement of residence, SOR. Go to the election judge wherever you are, ask them for a statement of residence. You can sign that, and then you will be permitted to vote there, just like you would if you were at your old polling location.
Correct. Thank you for that. So if you move from one county, I think that I may have misstated, but if you move from one county to another county, and this is what I was saying, if you move from Tarrant County to Dallas, and let's say you're going to register to vote, you're going to go vote today or tomorrow, and you walk up to the poll and you have your driver's license, and your driver's license still says Tarrant County, and the election judge can't find you in the Dallas County register, the election judge will call down to the county office, and they'll be able to tell you statewide what county you're still registered in. So if you haven't updated your address, updated your voter registration card prior to, and this year was October 5th, then you're going to have to go back to your previous county. And hopefully it's not a county that's too far for you. So you can go to the nearest polling location between those two counties. So again, to recap, if you move within the county, you're good. Okay. If you moved and your registration card has not become effective in your new precinct, you may vote a full ballot in your prior precinct, regardless of how long ago you moved. And finally, if you move from county to county, but you did not register your new address, then you'll have to go back to your previous county to vote.
Correct. And I see brother Wilson ignored the provisional ballot, and that's for a reason. You can't vote provisional ballot. Now, what a provisional ballot is basically what you would do if you voted a provisional ballot is you would be given a ballot to vote. You go do your, make your selections, but that will be given back to the election judge instead of dropped in the voting machine. Be given back to the election judge, turned into the election department, and you would have 6 days to cure your ballot, which means you would have to go down to the election department and bring whatever identification that you did not have on election day to prove that that's you, the address is correct, et cetera. And then you would be able to go through the process and vote again, right? But who wants to go through the trouble of doing that? And there's no way that a provisional ballot can be counted as normal ballots because it is marked differently. So don't think you can get a provisional ballot and then, shimmy over and drop it in a ballot because it's going to reject it. It has a marking on the provisional ballot that says it's provisional and it spits it right back out. So it's not going to count. It's not going to count until you go back down to, and this is every county in Texas. It's the same process. It's not going to count until you go to the election department and provide whatever information you did not provide on election day, and then you go through the process of making your selections again. So try not to vote provisional. Try to have all the information that you need when you go that day, whether it's early voting or election day. Very, very important. Don't go down on election day and not have your stuff together. Try to vote early so that you'll know go today, go tomorrow. So you'll know you have 2 weeks to get it right, that you have, 2 weeks to get this right. Because if you go on election day, especially for this election, and you don't have your stuff together, you don't have your correct information, you're going to run into some trouble. You're probably going to not be able to vote a normal ballot. So have your things correctly. And we're going to go through everything you need as far as documentation to vote. What can I take inside the polls? These are things, what can't I take inside the polls? These are things that you cannot take inside the polls under any circumstances. Cell phone, just have it off. Have it off. No dings, no rings, no texts, anything like that. Campaign material of any kind. As you can see that picture below, no campaign material is allowed inside. That's electioneering, as Brother Wilson said earlier. Firearms, illegal knives, which is a long knife, longer than 6 inches, I believe, etc. Don't take any of that stuff. You got to understand that this is a state-ran operation, and when you violate these election rules and protocols, you're violating state laws and regulations, and you you'll feel the wrath of the state if you're found to have violated any of these, and we don't need any of that. So just keep this stuff away. COVID protocol, I'll take this slide and you can take the next one, brother. COVID protocol, simple COVID protocol. Mask, if you want gloves, you can do that. Hand sanitizer. All those things are provided at your polling location, but you can take them yourself if you want to, obviously. I hate to say this because as an election judge, I would want everybody to come in maxed up, but I'm an election judge in Mesquite, so I fully expect it to be just the opposite. But you don't have to wear a mask if we can't make you wear a mask to come into the election polling site. But obviously you're asked to do so. If you don't have one, we have them on site. So if you need them, if you're running and you don't want to get out of line or whatever, we have some on site. So, but just come geared up with your PPE as you are doing in your normal life right now.
All right. And what identification must I have to vote? Well, the easiest form are what we call List A documents. And these are documents that are readily available to individuals in different ways. Your driver's license. You may have a Texas election identification specifically for election. You also have your personal ID card, your license to carry card. So if you're in the military, you can take your military ID.
Brother Wilson.
Yes.
I actually used my license to carry card today just to see if I get any blowback. and it was good. I was good. She looked at it for a long time and then looked at me like, what's up? But I got to vote. Okay.
I did the same thing, Brother Jackson. I
just wanted to test it, to see if I would get any blowback, but it was all good.
We'll let you in, but you'll get some looks at first, because and the only reason is that majority of people bring their driver's license, but you'll have some military IDs and some LTCs that will come through. So you can use your passport. Oftentimes we'll see individuals with passport. You can bring your voter registration card with you. We'll stamp it like we used to, but a majority of people will just bring their IDs. And finally, a person over 70 years of age or older may use a form of identification listed from A, list A that's has been expired. So again, if your driver's license has been expired, then bring that. I think it's a 4-year expiration time period that you can use that. But those items that are listed here, these are the ones, these are the primo ones. These are the ones that will identify you very quickly and easily and speed through the process, and just kind of let you know in terms of going back to the protocol, and just want to touch on that quickly. Where your safety is our number one priority. So also the election workers and judge safety is also a priority. So if it takes a little bit longer because we're cleaning off the machines and the pens and the stylus that you use, it's for your safety and ours.
Right. And it will take longer because of that. Also,
Brother Rivers, I think you had a comment.
Yeah, I just wanted to clarify or ask, could you clarify the voter registration card? If you went in there solely with the voter registration card, can you please say it again that you might not even need a picture ID, or how does that work? If it does,
that's if your voter registration card. If you look at the slide, it says with permanent exception status. Everybody does not have that. So if you have permanent exception status, and it'll have an E after your VUID number and your voter registration card, then you can use that. If you do not have a permanent exception status with that E on your voter registration card, this does not apply to you.
I just wanted y'all to say it again. That's all, because some people out there, well, I got my voter registration card, and
that's great, but that's not all you need.
I need something else.
A lot of my college students, we always hear it's a common misconception that I can vote with my student ID. No, you cannot vote with an ID. You will need one of these documents on this.
Let me. I was just about to speak on that. You can with an exception. Now, this is very tricky. You know how it goes with being really slick about excluding people from voting or making it very hard for people to vote. You can vote with a college ID as long as it has a picture of you and your address on it. Issue with that is college IDs don't have those. No, so if you're that very rare exception at a university or college where your picture ID, where your student ID has your picture and your home address, then you can use that. But once again, that's not the norm for college IDs.
Mm-hmm. Okay. Next slide. All right. These list B, these are items, typically we will see these individuals who may not have a driver's license or ID, or may have, typically these are individuals after a storm or a devastation, or they may have a tragic fire and they just have very limited identifications. So you can bring a copy of your birth certificate, a current utility bill, your public college or university ID with your name and address on, like we just stated, a bank statement, a government check or original paycheck, okay? A government document with your photo, name, address on it, a current or expired voter registration card. That's what you asked about, the voter registration card. Driver's license from another state, okay?
Very important. If we go back up to where it says list B documents, it says list B you must complete and sign a reasonable impediment declaration, an RID. Okay, so you can have one of these documents, but you also have to sign an RID. The thing about that is very important to remember is the following sentence: and poll workers may not question or challenge you on your lack of ability to obtain a list A document. So you don't have to go into reasons why you don't have it or what happened. That's none of their business, okay? That is none of their business. If you have one of these list B documents that Brother Wilson just read off, and you're willing to sign an RID, reasonable impediment declaration, then you will be issued a ballot, a normal ballot, and allowed to vote just like anybody else, okay? But please remember that these documents that you're signing are legal documents.
Correct.
If you're not being truthful, if you're forging a different name or whatever, just be ready to deal with the state, okay? And you already know how that is. So if you have to sign anything to vote, an RID or a statement of residence if you've moved and you're a suspense voter, then you need to understand that you are signing a state document. You're signing your name as truthful and honest. And if it is found out that you are not, you will have problems. You will have big problems. Okay.
Next slide.
What identification must I have to vote? What qualifies as no reasonable impediment? That's Brother Wilson pretty much went over that. Lack of transportation. If you had a house fire, a storm, you lost your ID and you can't find it. Disability or illness has prevented you from getting a new ID. Family responsibilities. If you have to take care of a parent or a sick child, and you just cannot get down and spend the time waiting in line to get a new ID. These are things that qualify as a reasonable impediment that will allow you to present that List B document, sign the ROI, and then vote. Next. Voter assistance. These are things that, and this is a very important slide because a lot of people don't know this. These are things or persons that you can take to the poll to help you. And Brother Wilson kind of alluded to this a little bit earlier. But so we have sample ballot. Again, these are active links. If you obtain this presentation, if you email us and want this presentation, all you gotta do is click, and it'll take you straight to the site to where you put in your information and go from there. But Dallas County, Tarrant County, Collin County, Denton County, sample ballots. It will be exactly like listed in the same order as you will see it when you go to the poll. Very useful. Like he said earlier, Brother Wilson said, click on that, print it, take it with you. Voter assistance. You're also allowed to take someone to the poll with you. If you have problems reading for whatever reason, if you have problems, if you have eye issues and you can't really see the voting machine, whatever reason, if you need assistance at the poll, you can take someone with you. You can even ask one of the clerks of the election just to help you out. If you're if you are unable to read or mark in your ballot, you can ask for assistance. Okay, let me go through a few. So these are things that you can have the voter assistant assist you with. Read the ballot to you, right? They can read it to you, direct you to read the ballot, so they can show you where to reach, whatever you're having problems locating. Mark your ballot for you, direct you to mark your ballot. Poll workers can also assist you with reading the ballot and helping you navigate through the process. Poll watchers can watch in this instance. Keep that in mind. So there typically, if there is a Democratic election judge, there will be a Republican poll watcher. If there is a Republican election judge, there will be a Democratic poll watcher. These folks come in and they have signed affidavits. They're allowed to be there. And if someone needs help, assistance at a poll, they're allowed to stand, the 6 feet back, observing COVID rules and watch. So don't be alarmed. Don't raise any cane on that. That is perfectly legal to happen at the poll. And also a Spanish translator. If you cannot speak English or read English, you can take a translator there with you.
Now I want to go back to just touch one on that. Notice it did not say that the person could explain to you the ballot. The person cannot explain to you the ballot. They're only able to read the ballot. One of the reasons being is that they're probably going to read it out loud, and they don't want that's once they start giving their opinion on what you should do, then that becomes electioneering. So they can read the ballot to you. They'll have to fill out a form saying that they are assisting you and giving you assistance in reading the ballot, directing you where to vote, but they cannot cast the ballot for you. Okay.
And to keep it simple, if you have to do this, just ask them to read, point where you need them to read. Don't ask them any questions. Who is that? What party are they with? Is that the black girl? None of that. Just keep it simple so that we can keep the election poll workers at bay, because we don't need that. That's the kind of stuff you start hearing about the morning after the election, right? We don't want to be a part of that system.
I have a question for the people in the back.
Yes, sir.
If we were to bring, say, for a family member, would that poll watcher be allowed to watch then as well?
I'm not ask that
So,
question again?
for example, studies have shown that if you bring a child to the polling place, they have more likelihood to vote themselves in their time, or a teenager, whatever the case may be. Would that person, since there is another person with me in the polling site, would that person trigger a poll watcher or someone to look over a person's shoulder?
Maybe. I mean, it just depends on the person, and it also depends on how busy the poll is. They may not have time to watch everyone. I know I think I'm going to have like 15 poll booths at the location I'm at, because I have a total of 9 people. 9 people working with me. So it depends on the person. I don't think it necessarily will trigger it, but
No,
you
it
don't know.
wouldn't. It doesn't trigger it until they assist. Now, also be careful. I know people like to bring their kids. Like you said, they do want to bring their kids to vote with them and show them the process. But understand, the child cannot press the buttons to select a candidate. The child cannot select the button to cast a ballot for it to be printed. They're merely there to watch, and that as long as they're just watching from that standpoint, they're good. But they can't be the ones. The parent can't direct them to push this button, select this button, because they're technically not old enough to vote, and they're casting a ballot, so that's illegal. So oftentimes I have to remind parents of that, but their child can only watch the process be done, but they can't participate in terms of pushing the button or even inserting the ballot into the machine.
Correct. All right, so now we're at the actual voting process.
Uh-oh.
So you've gone through the process of getting your ballot, and you're at the clerk, and you're in the process of getting your ballot, and we're at the voting process now. So can I vote straight party? Can we vote straight party anymore, Brother Wilson?
No. Yeah, that's a no. And the Democrats tried to get that overturned. It was not successful. And you are required now to vote each individual race. Okay. So you have to go down and find whatever political party that you or individual that you want to vote for. So you just can't do like the good old days, push a button and walk out. So you have to go down the ballot to vote. All right. So provisional ballots, we talked a little bit about provisional ballots, and basically if you're voting provisional ballots, it means that you really didn't want to tell anybody who you were. You had no identification to identify who you are, and there's a process that you'll have to use to complete your ballot or to cure your ballot within 6 days.
Let me say this, Brother Wilson, because sometimes people forget their ID and they just want to be lazy and vote provisional. But once again, that's creating more problems, because you're going to have to you're not going to go back to your voting location. You're going to have to go to the Dallas County Election Department and do this, or Tarrant County, or wherever you are, and go through this process. It is incumbent on you to bring your ID that day. If you get there and you forgot it, go home and get it.
Right? Correct.
And this is also very important why you should go vote early. Because if this happens on election day and you get there early and you get there and you forgot your ID and you got to get to work, and by the time you get off, the polls is going to be tight. You're in jeopardy of not being able to vote. So go vote early and make sure you take your correct documentation with you whenever you vote.
All right. And curbside voting. If you're a voter that has difficulty walking or standing for long periods of time, you may request curbside service. What will happen is that if you send word to the election judge and let them know that there's somebody outside that needs curbside voting, the election judge, and considering the fact this is a general election, so both the Democratic and Republican election judge will go out to validate that, and they will, in essence, bring the voting to you. So they'll bring the qualifying option to you, and then they'll bring you your ballot, and then they'll take your ballot, and then they'll walk it back in and cast it for you. That option is available for you.
Right. You make your selections. They bring the actual machine out. You put it in, make your selections, and they take it in and drop it into in Dallas, it's called a DS-200. This is very important. And as an election judge, I'm asking for your help. And I'm sure Brother Wilson will concur. don't make it hard on us. We know that, it's COVID. We're in a COVID world, and it'd be much safer for you to call out for a curbside machine and go from there. But we're going to be dealing with enough. Okay. We just need your assistance. If you do not have a physical impediment, if you're ill, you can't stand, if some of those, if you don't have that going on with you, please just vote normally like everyone else, because we have to send 1 or 2 people out to you every time we are requested a curbside voting. And that throws us behind inside. That makes lines longer. That makes for a longer night. So if you can vote, get in and go vote. That is my request to you.
Bring your coolers, bring your chairs, bring it all. All right.
Question.
And spoiling. Yes.
Real quickly. If you vote early, can you still vote in, I might have missed this, but can you vote anywhere in your county? Was that mentioned?
Say that again.
I'm glad you mentioned that. We failed to mention that.
What was the question?
The question was, during early voting, can you vote anywhere in your county?
We did fail to mention it, but it is on the slides on the presentation. It is written. Yeah.
And the same thing in Dallas County, I believe Tarrant County as well. On election day, you can do the same thing. You do not have to go back to your precinct. You can go to the nearest voting location to you and cast your ballot.
Right. And I did verify that with Tarrant County today. I was on the phone with them, and that is correct. Early voting and on general election day, you can vote wherever you are in that, in your county, you can vote anywhere.
All right. You want to take the spoiling the ballot?
Spoiling the ballot. What is spoiling the ballot? This is very important also. I say very important a lot, but this is very important. And one thing you have to do before you drop that ballot into the counter is review your ballot, because oftentimes this is a touch screen, this is technology, and sometimes there are glitches. Sometimes there are outside forces at work, if you know what I mean. Make sure you read your ballot and everyone you meant to select is selected. What happens if they're not? If you read your ballot and I'm not going to say that, but if somebody, if you read your ballot and someone that you did not intend to select is selected, what happens then? You don't have to just drop it in and, oh, well, dang, I made a mistake. It's called spoiling your ballot. What you can do is go back to the clerk. They will send you to the election judge, tell them you want to spoil your ballot. That basically means you made a mistake. I want to X through it, void it, turn it in, and be given another one. So that's what will happen. You will go to the election judge, go through the whatever paper process that we have. They will take your ballot. Now, you can't keep that ballot. You have to turn that ballot in. If you want to keep that, you're insistent on keeping that ballot for whatever reason, that's your ballot, right? That's the only one you get. But you can turn that ballot in, get another ballot, go through the process again, make your selections, and vote. You have 2 opportunities to do that, right? You can spoil twice. On that third one, whatever mistake you make, that's who you just voted for, right? Now they say if you break it, you bought it. if you spoil 3 times and you accidentally vote for some orange guy or something like that, then that's just who you voted for, okay? So that's spoiling your ballot. You have 3 times to get it right, but hopefully we can get it right the first time.
All right, next slide.
Okay, these are interactive. I'm not sure if we want to, but I'll just do this. Just
yeah, we can just talk about it.
Yeah, but these are interactive, live videos, so they're embedded in this presentation. Again, if you want the presentation, email us. That will be provided at the end of at the end of our presentation. But this will tell you all about how to vote in Dallas County, how to use that machine. It runs from A to Z. And it also has, and I think that's probably going to just give me a second. Okay. Tarrant County also. Okay.
Ours goes through.
Yeah, I think it's
Tarrant County.
Yeah.
Okay. Just wanted to give Beta Tal some love there. But Collin County also, Beta Tau did a really nice one. But anyway, so this is Collin County, and it does the same thing. And I think maybe Denton County also. Same thing for Denton County. And these are all live videos. They're embedded in the presentation, okay? And I think that's it. So are there any questions in the chat?
And one thing I just want to make note, the ballot that you're used to, if you hadn't voted in a while, so if you hadn't voted since Obama or before, your ballot looks a little bit different. Your last ballot you got was this big, well, almost similar to this size ballot that you get. The new technology for Dallas County is like this. This is your ballot. This is what you'll receive. It's blank until you make your selections. You insert it into the ballot machine. You'll make your selections, and then it will print out. This is what we're talking about for spoiling. It will print out your selections, and then that's when you will view everything that's printed out and make sure it's correct. And then that's when you'll take it to the ballot box to insert it. But your ballot will look a little bit different. You'll be asked to pick one of these. You won't be given one. You'll be asked to select whichever ballot, blank ballot. It shouldn't have anything on it. And then that's what you'll make your selections on.
For Tarrant County, it's a little bit different from that. We have a lot. We have what looks like for lack of a better term, somewhat like a laminated sheet that we insert. It has directions on it. Your election officials will definitely be helpful. If you want to watch the video that we put out, follow the instructions. Make sure your arrow is pointed up the right way. I can't stress that enough. Or your ballot, the paper will jam, and you go through the whole process. I personally went through that. Wasn't fun, but they fixed it. They were careful. They were kind. Just ask for help if you need it. In Tarrant County, it's a little bit different from Dallas.
Yeah, it's about an 8.5 by 14, if I do believe.
Mm-hmm.
Old school.
Yeah, it's
Old school.
Old school.
Yeah, nice size sheet.
Okay.
We doing
Do we have any questions in the chat?
I'm not seeing any questions just yet. We will have a Q&A period at the end, so I'll say let's just go ahead and keep going.
Stop sharing?
I think so. Definitely. Yeah, you can stop sharing. I think brother Wilson now is going to talk about some of the key races that we wanted to specifically on our first. I think Brother Rivers, I think you want to share some specifically for Tarrant County that we missed last week. So we'll give you the floor first, and then following that, Brother Wilson, you'll go into the presentation for the all things Texas judges.
Thank you, brothers, for giving me this space and opportunity. We just wanted to highlight about 5 key races in Tarrant County, specifically because the demographic shift of our county in the last few years has made things be a little fluid. The state representative of our state down in Austin, there are several key races in our city and in our county that can shift this whole state. So I encourage you all to go all the way down the ballot. Right there in the middle, there will be state representation races. If you live in South Denton County or Northwest Tarrant County, that's District 12 for the Senate, State Senate. It would be the 2 races there. That's extremely important. Again, these races will make a difference one way or another. If you want to stay the same, that's one way. If you want things to change, Tarrant County can make a difference. The races that you might want to look at, or if you live in an HEB area, that's District 92. I would strongly encourage you to look over your ballot again, maybe do it twice to make sure that you've looked at your state representation. District 93, that's straight down I-35. If you living in the Alliance area, all the way down through North Arlington on 30, those are extremely important races. State District 94. That is somewhat in Arlington and a little bit of southeast Fort Worth. And then you have 96 State District Rep 96. So that is South Tarrant County. These races are extremely important. I cannot stress to you enough. Make sure if you have to check twice, 3 times, make sure you go to the middle of the ballot and highlight who you want to represent you. Again, these are nonpartisan selections. We are not trying to endorse anybody. We just want you to make sure that you use your voice and the people in Austin represent what you want them to. So again, if you are living in any one of these key areas in Tarrant County, obviously I encourage all of you to do the same. But if you live in one of these 5 hot zones, as I like to call them, make sure you have checked your list twice. Thank you. We appreciate you.
All right. Thank you, brother. All right. And for the sake of time, I'm not going to read everything on this, but I just want to make sure that you are aware of these races. And again, the purpose of this is to present the information as a neutral or non-biased way. So the Court of Appeals, what we're talking about today, Court of Appeals, Court of Criminal Appeals, the Texas Supreme Court, and district courts.
Brother
Okay.
Wilson, share your screen for us.
I'm sorry?
Share your screen so we can see the.
It's not sharing?
Not yet. Now it is.
Now it is. All right. You know what? That happens too in Zoom. You get to talk and think people can see what you're saying and what you're showing. And it's sitting there looking at you. All right. So again, we're talking about the Court of Appeals, Court of Criminal Appeals, Texas Supreme Court, and district courts. And we'll talk a little bit about those at the end. So to begin with, this is what it looks like, Texas court system. You have the Texas Supreme Court, and then you have the Court of Criminal Appeals. Underneath that, you have the Court of Appeals, and then you have your district courts, and district being your district court, criminal district court. At your next, below that is your county level, your constitutional county court, your probate court, your county court at law, and then you have your municipal court and your justice courts. So depending on where you are at in the state, you'll have different races this time, particularly in the Court of Appeals and district courts. So we'll talk a little bit about this. This is the makeup of your Court of Criminal Appeals. See that? All right. The Texas Court of Criminal Appeals is the court of last resort for all criminal matters in the state of Texas. This court consists of a presiding judge and 8 judges. They're elected by the voters for the entire state, and they will hold their office for 6 years, 6-year terms. And here are the current races, statewide races for place 3, place 4, and place 9. Again, these are those individuals running both for Republican and Democrat for this seat. All right, so this is the makeup of your Texas Supreme Court. Please take a good look.
And again, Brother Wilson, that is the final authority on criminal matters. That is the equivalent.
Correct.
Texas Court of Criminal Appeals is the equivalent of the Texas Supreme Court. So Texas Supreme Court is civil matters. Texas Court of Criminal Appeals, the final authority on criminal matters.
Correct.
Like you said, look at the makeup.
The Supreme Court, they also have 6-year terms composed of Chief Justice and 8 justices. The Supreme Court justices are elected and then staggered 6-year term. That's why you don't have all of them this year. When a vacancy arises, the governor appoints a justice subject to state confirmation. Justices, just to kind of just let you know that the youngest you can be is 35. You have to be a citizen, licensed to practice law, and must have practiced law for at least 10 years or have been a lawyer or a judge of court for at least 10 years. So if, again, looking at the age of the individuals, all right. Here are your individuals that are vying for that position in place 1, place 6, place 7, and place 8. Okay. All right, your Texas Court of Appeals. Take a good look at that. They also serve 6-year terms. There are 14 courts of appeals that are intermediate appellate jurisdiction in both civil and criminal cases appealed from district or county courts. Each court of appeals has jurisdiction in a specific geographical region of the state, so that's why you have 14. Each court is presided over by a chief justice and at least 2 other justices. Okay, in the appeals court, in the court of appeals are usually heard by a panel of 3 judges, unless, and this is in bank, in court, or in court hearing is ordered in a particular case, in which instance all justices of a court hear and consider the case. And these are the individuals that are running in Fort Worth, the second court of appeals. Consists of 12 counties, 7 justices. So you have place 2, the incumbent, and place 6, and place 7, which is an open seat. Dallas, you have 13 justices, 6 counties based in Dallas. These are the individuals that are running for place 3, place 6, and place 8. And then also the stars are the ones that are the incumbents. All right. So here my section, we have Dallas County courts. And we're going to talk a little bit about them. I believe, brothers, we have some information for Tarrant County as well. But these are the individuals running for Dallas County criminal courts. You see court number 2, 3, and 4. If you're in Dallas County, unopposed. And the 14th, Texas State 14th Civil District Court in Dallas. We had Judge, you have these individuals. I hadn't named anybody, so I'm not going to name anybody. These are the 2 individuals vying for that court, and just a little bit about them in terms of their background. And the 95th Civil District Court, these are the individuals that are vying for that position. The I is the incumbent. Okay. All right. 162nd Civil District Court. Again, the I is the incumbent. And then in the 254th District Court, these are the individuals that are vying for that court, and the I again is the incumbent. So, and that is my piece. And so let me stop sharing. All right. All right. And again, we just wanted to present that information in a just a factual information so you can make that informed decision as to who represents you and what you would like to see as representation, be the change that you want to see. So I'll turn it over.
And again, Brother Wilson, if anybody wants to find this for themselves, where can they go?
Easy. You can, your first choice, you can always go to your sample ballot, like we told you before, which has all of your races for your county. We'll have both, or if it's 3 parties, if it's independent, but you'll have a list of all candidates, and you can go to the Women League of Voters, often has a good source that's a non-biased source on individual statewide races. And Ballotpedia is another good source to use to find information about a particular candidate. They have will go from state level down to county level. Sometimes they'll go to the municipal, but that's a good location for you to be able to find information on a particular candidate.
Thank you for that, Brother Wilson.
I think you just taught me the difference between the Texas Supreme Court, the Texas Court of Criminal Appeals, and then the Texas Court of Appeals, and all of their different. So that was a good for me.
Very well done. If we could take a second to just kind of explain once more for the people in the back, what would be the extreme importance for voting for the judges in itself? A lot of people probably don't necessarily understand that you can even vote for judges. And then if we could speak to why would that be something that I need to go all the way down my ballot to look for? Could y'all go into, because I know I have my thoughts, but definitely, if y'all want to spend some time to elaborate on that, that would be good for the people in the back.
Well, when you consider criminal judges, I will direct you to no further than the Innocence Project and the work that Craig Watkins did as DA in Dallas, freeing literally tens, 20s, hundreds, of people wrongfully convicted. They were the judges that convicted them were pretty consistently with one party, right? And they had a consistent viewpoint on punishment, especially punishment towards African Americans. And so when you elect a judge, you elect someone that's going to be deciding punishment, someone that's going to be deciding basically dispute resolution in civil matters, divorces, child custody, lawsuits. I mean, these are the people who are going to be deciding those cases. And if we consistently don't vote or consistently vote for people who are not favorable to people, especially our people, then, you get what you get. There are judges that are, pay attention. When last week, when we had when we went through what we went through last week on the show, we dealt with a lot of, Daniel Keeling kept saying, this is a big money raise. That's a big money raise. That's a big money raise. Well, where's that money coming from? That money typically coming from corporations or very wealthy individuals. And when you have corporations pouring money into a specific politician, whether it be a judge or a mayor or whoever, they're going to rule with that person, right? So if you get insurance companies donating the minimum of $5,000 or whatever to Judge so-and-so, then you better dang well believe when you get in Judge so-and-so's court and you're trying to fight your insurance company, you're fighting the insurance company and the judge, right? So that's what we're kind of looking at when we're voting for judges. They are the decider. They're the decision maker. They're the fact finder. And if we don't put people in place, vote people in place who will be sympathetic to, our position, then we get what we've been getting for the last since 1965, or 1865 rather.
Yeah, and you hit it right on the head. And just the similarity, the importance of these judges races is just like if you look at the going on now, the Senate confirmation for the Supreme Court justice. That individual is the end all be all for the entire country. Well, these individuals are the end all be all for all things Texas. They are the final decider in terms of healthcare, education, transportation, things of that nature, real estate. So water, whether you have water or not, or your area is without those resources. So it's important that you have individuals. I think it's really important that we have individuals that represent you, that look like you, hopefully, because we all understand that not everybody who's your kinfolk is who's your kinfolk is your kinfolk. So, but you want to make sure those individuals have your interest at heart and in mind in terms of what they're trying to seek and level the playing field. So again, those individuals, those courts, 6 years is a long time, because I guarantee you'll forget about them next year, and they're still there for 5 more years doing whatever, again, who's ever paying or supplying their campaign, doing their bidding. And I guarantee you that a majority of the stuff that they're ruling in favor of doesn't favor you.
And also, Brother Wilson, we have to also keep in mind that especially judges, especially a lot of the Black female judges that we have on the bench in Dallas County specifically, when you vote in people who look like you, who come from the same hood that you come from, who are understanding of your position in life, then you get programs like we get in the court from Stephanie Mitchell and Shaquita Kelly, and I know I'm leaving out we don't have time to name everyone, but when they get together and develop programs that help young men and young women in our communities, right? You don't get that from everybody, Right? It's some people on the bench that wouldn't give you that if their life depended on it. But we need to make sure that we, again, are voting in people that are sympathetic and that are understanding to our community. And if we don't do that, then we get what we've been getting.
And also too, like when as far as from an importance standpoint, when you think about the presence of COVID-19, as a result of people being out of work, there were, from what I understand, there was nearly all these different people that were risking eviction or being evicted from their homes because they were paused for a certain amount of time up until the end of May. But then the Texas Supreme Court came back and ruled that eviction proceedings and debt collections, they could resume, one of the first states across the United States to do so. So that was nearly targeted to a lot of people of color who were disproportionately, didn't have those different types of jobs. They were out of work. And then all of a sudden now they're being evicted from their homes. And who made that decision? Our Texas Supreme Court did.
Mm-hmm.
So what I hear you guys expound on is the as Roger put in the comment, we appreciate that comment. They have influence over sentencing, and representation is important. They have an everyday power and influence, and everyday, as in if you go into a court for a divorce, if you're going for child custody, if you're going for hey, I get into some trouble. Who's representing that room is to be there for you to have a fair process, an even process. And because we get to vote over that, it brings in the idea of I can be comfortable with this person and I can trust his sentence. So you vote for that person in hopes that if I ever were to be in front of this person, would I trust their ruling? Would I trust that they're going to see this process, even if they don't come from my background or they don't understand my experiences? Will they look at the law as it is intended and say that this process will be fair no matter what? That's why we judge. That's why we vote for judges. So if you don't vote for your judge, don't complain when you don't get the sentence you want. Don't get the outcome you want in the Texas Supreme Court. You didn't vote. You're not gonna tell you who to vote for,
right?
But that's
I'll piggyback on that, Brother Rivers, because that's two part, and it's maybe going a little bit off topic, but not really. The judge needs backup, right? If we're going to elect a judge, mm-hmm. then we have to be that judge's support, right? Mm-hmm. And how are we that judge's support? How are we that judge's sixth man? We're that judge's support and sixth man by going to serve jury duty, because we can't expect to elect all these judges, right? And we can elect my mama, but if there's 12 judges, if there's 12 Beckys, 12 Karens, then it's, you know what I'm saying? So we have to be the backup. We have to be the support. That electing that judge, voting for that judge or whoever is not the end of it. Right. The process is more broad than that. And we have to be a part of the process, and we have to serve on juries.
It goes hand in hand. That's the Robin to the Batman.
Robin to the Batman. Right. And also you want to look at a way of balancing power. So if you have a governor that's out of control that, say they want to limit drop off ballots, particularly in urban areas, and because they see a certain particular group voting at a higher rate than others, you might have a court that says, no, that's not right, instead of just rubber stamping that type of behavior.
Yeah, you basically, sir, we in life, we have very few opportunities to select who's over us, right? You don't have that in any. You don't go to your job and say, "I want you as my boss," right? You don't, unless it's an election process, right? You don't get to choose who's over you, who runs the show. But this is the process where we get to choose who runs the show, whether it's president or a precinct 1 court in Oak Cliff. We get to choose who runs the show. And so we need to do that. We need to make sure we're putting people in place who, again, are understanding of our community.
And I leave it at this. The legislative body of Texas made the decision to remove straight ticket ballot voting for a reason. They may or may not believe that you will do every single vote. That might serve, that might help, it doesn't matter. But they chose that decision for a reason. They probably don't think you care enough to finish it. So I challenge you again to look at the whole ballot from top to bottom, mid card. We tried to give you some reasons why you might want to stay in that extra 30 seconds. Because I know you want to top, do the top. Do the top. That's important. But go all the way through it and make sure that your voice is heard all the way through this state, up and down the state. And if there's questions, you can ask, but please just take that time to go all the way through.
And you know what? I want to take this time to say, I don't agree with that ruling, like most of us don't. If you want the option of voting straight ticket, you should have that option, right? It's no different than going down 20 times and voting for one party. But what I would hope this does is forces us, especially as a people, to be more informed when we go to the polls, right? Because if you got to go mark 30 individual boxes. At some point on there, when you get to the 20th and you have no idea who you just voted for, I hope that prompts us to say, okay, not the next time. This is the process now. This is another roadblock they've thrown in front of us, hoping that we slip up somewhere. But we can use it to our advantage. Be more educated when we go to the polls. Know who's on the ballot. Print those sample ballots out a couple weeks ahead of time. Do a little research. Get on Google and put those names in. And who is this person? Who is that person? And be informed when we get to the. We can take that roadblock and pick it up and use it as a stick, and and get to swinging with it. We don't have to let these roadblocks deter us. We need to, like you said, Brother Ripley, we got to have stamina in this. We got to have long-term stamina in this process, because the roadblocks will not stop coming.
I think I need to have strategy. That's what we need. To have strategy.
Yeah.
And it starts early. Quick caveat to judges and the census.
Yeah.
Did you all see that today? They actually failed the administration to stop the census. So instead of going to the end of the month, it's
until it completes what? The appeal process. And
yes.
Depending on how the judicial system, how quickly they want to take that on, it could be held up to after the election, end of the year. It could be tomorrow. Just depends on what's the flavor of the day and and who they want to try to disenfranchise. Because none of this is done realistically for the benefit of all. It benefits some, but not all.
We got a topic that came in through the chat by Brother Wilson. I think we may have missed the topic. Let's discuss a little bit about mail-in ballots.
All right. We're going to talk about if you're a mail-in ballot and you want to vote in person, bring the ballot with you, surrender the ballot. Yeah, because
that's correct. You can surrender your ballot.
Yes, if you have your ballot and you bring your ballot to the voting location, you will fill out a form that says you're surrendering your ballot. Make sure that you bring everything, the envelopes, all the envelopes, the ballot, all of it. If you sealed it, bring all that with you. And then you'll be, once you fill out the form saying that you're surrendering your ballot, then you'll vote like a normal person or a regular person who's walking in for the first time.
Right, because it's going to show when you come and you don't. If you decide that I don't want to vote with my provisional with my mail-in ballot, I'm going to just go down there and vote, and you don't have that ballot to surrender, because when we take your ID and scan it, it's going to show that you requested a mail-in ballot. It's going to show right there on our screen. right? And we're going to tell you either surrender that ballot or go put that ballot in the mail, right? That's your two options. You surrender it or put it in the mail, but don't think you can come and that's done to deter people from voting twice, right?
So this is not a partisan question, but I thought the president said you can vote twice. You should vote once and then
well, back in the day, Chicago used to do that, but I don't think that. I think they kind of frowned on
Illinois.
Hey, Jared.
Might be acceptable up there.
Jared, Jared, COVID 45 says a lot of things that are not necessarily true. COVID 45 has a reputation of not being too truthful.
And let me just say something on that part. And voting twice, just like it will show in the system that you requested a mail-in ballot, it will also show that your mail-in ballot has been received. And if your mail-in ballot has been received, it's done. Also, it will show, just say that for whatever reason, that you're in line, you go to vote, but for whatever reason, the line is long and you leave, and then you go to another voting location and you start the process over, it's going to show that you started the process to vote. Okay. And you might get questioned what happened with that. The election judge may ask you because it's going to show on the system that you attempted to vote the first time. So don't be surprised if there's a little clarification that has to be done with that system. It doesn't happen a lot, but just understand that when we scan your ID or scan whatever identification and we check you in, then that is countywide. All precincts, all voting locations know the same information.
Mm-hmm. And it's going to show if you voted somewhere else. If you try to skip around and vote again, it's not happening. I had that, Eric, I don't know if I told you, but I had that happen to me in the runoff election in March. A guy came in and tried to vote when he had already voted in the Republican election, right? So he tried to come in and vote Democratic, and it showed as clear as day. So it's very, very few things you can do to get around the system. So all the talk of voter fraud and all that is very difficult to get around the system. So the voter fraud thing is fraud itself. But at the end of the day, what we're saying is make sure you have your correct information. Make sure you get there early in case you have any issues. And vote and go vote, but get your stuff together, have your correct information, have your documentation, and have it with you.
Yeah, and I'll just say this: at the end of the night, 7:00 means 7:00. Your election judge will go to the end of the line and mark off the last person at 7:00, unless the governor, which I highly doubt it, extends the last day of voting an extra hour because there's such an influx of individuals that want to vote and there's a big outcry for it. Then at 7:00, that's it. Please do not cause a scene. Please do not say that the person is disenfranchising you from voting. There is a time limit that all state election judges are bound by. And let me just say this one thing, and just in case those individuals that want to act a fool at a polling location, understand that every election judge is empowered on election day that has the full authority of a state judge. Let me just say that. On election day, every election judge is empowered by the state of Texas as a official judge. So let that sink in for a little bit.
In other words, if we call the police, it's not going to be good for you.
It's not going to be. What if I was in the parking lot and you saw me get out of the car and then it was like 6:59 and 3 seconds and I was right there? What happens?
6:59 and 3 seconds.
I parked at 6:59 and I walked over to the line and you were saying,
brother, let's get through all this. What time was it when you got in line? What time was it?
It was 7:02 and 2 seconds.
Okay, and you know what? I hope the person that you wish wins because you're not voting here. Hey, check this out, brother. We have to understand we are bound as election judges and clerks. We have to do that. We have to have that hard cutoff. So it's very important. You can be in line at 7 o'clock, but we have to have that hard cutoff. And to be honest with you, that's just kind of the middle of our night. We're not trying, I've been at a poll till 2 o'clock in the morning when I was an election judge and precinct chair in Lancaster for Barack Obama. I was there until 2 o'clock. Nobody's trying to do that, right? We're not getting paid a lot of money, and we're there to serve, basically, right? We're doing it to serve. And if we can be there from 5 o'clock to basically 9 o'clock serving for very little money, you can do us a favor and get there before 7. Right? Because we would like to get out of there at a decent time so that we can go and celebrate. Hopefully we'll win. Okay. And just understand we are bound to close that line at 7 o'clock. We have to. We have no choice.
All right. Thank you, brothers, for joining us. We're going to throw it over to Brother Leo for any closing remarks.
Thank you, brother. I'm just hopping on to commend the brothers on the stream today for their expertise and really just having a great conversation. This is the DFW Alphas Coalition, where all of the chapters in the Dallas-Fort Worth Metroplex are working together to maximize and amplify our work and our voice as one fraternity. So we want to appreciate all the brothers. We want to appreciate all the leaders, all of the chairs, who have been engaged over the last couple of months and who are still engaged in moving towards this nonstop till November. Early voting has started, and I know it seems redundant when we say it, but truthfully, this is the time. This is the moment for our voices to be heard. This is the opportunity for not only Alpha, but all Divine Now organization, all Black organizations, all philanthropic, civic, nonprofit organizations who believe in this work to really just put your foot on the gas, right? We got 3 weeks of early voting, and then on election day, I think what we tried to do tonight was really educate you, not just for yourselves, but to educate you for other people, right? So take what you heard tonight. I think we had an excellent conversation from some actual election judges, right? So they're in the offices and they're in the roles that are really protecting our vote, right? And making sure that the process of voting is clear and it's fair. So please take the information that was shared tonight, share it with somebody else, share this actual stream so that they can dig deeper and they can really get an in-depth understanding to how the voting process is going to work and how they can play a part to making sure that we see the results we want to see on November 3rd, right? We want to remind you that we're still celebrating our Black businesses and Black entrepreneurs on Black Fridays. We're asking everyone to post a businessman or a businesswoman in our community. We want to continue to build our economic wealth. We want to close the racial wealth gap. And that starts with us learning how to keep our dollar in our community, right? We're talking about voter mobilization right now, but we're going to be moving into policy soon. So when it's time to talk about policy, we're going to have some money behind that and really be able to track our dollar so that we can increase our negotiating power. So again, shout out to all of the brothers of Alpha Phi Alpha, especially a huge shout out to the Ronu Lambda chapter for hosting their platform for this powerful discussion. And those are my notes, brothers. Continue to post on social media. Continue to use all of your platforms, media, and resources. If your chapter is doing text banking, please get into that. If your chapter is doing any type of strategies to support people staying in line, please do that. I'll close with this, like I said last week. Please call your friends, call your chairs, call your leaders who are doing this work. Don't wait for a phone call. Call them and get engaged because there's work to be done. Help is needed. So your phone may not be ringing, but you know somebody who's doing the work. You know somebody who's on the front line. Just pick up the phone and give them a call and say, hey, how can I help? I've already voted. I got my voting sticker. What can I do to help us increase voter turnout in our communities? So thank you all for joining And I'm going to kick it back over to our host for tonight, the Brothers of the Roman Lambert chapter.
Thank you for that, Brother Leo. And just wrapping up, if you're joining us a little late, we're going to go through just a quick wrap up.
Brother Aaron, I don't mean to interrupt,
Go
but I can talk, but I want to say this. This is very, very important, and I meant to say this earlier. Okay, Eric and I are election judges. I want to challenge you. When you go to the polls, brothers, sisters, when you go to the polls, look around. If you've already voted, just kind of replay what that polling location looked like today. And I can guarantee you it didn't look like us, right? If it is us, it's our senior brothers and sisters who take time out of their day and go sit down because they know the value of, like Brother Lyle said, they know the value of protecting our vote at the polls. But we see very few young brothers and sisters at the poll. It's a paid position. There's no glory in it, but I have the heck of a time just trying to get 7 people to help me at the poll. And by grace, I got 2 extra young brothers this time, but most of the time it's me and 7 or 8 black women, right? Brothers, men, we have to protect our right to vote. We have to be stewards at the ballot, right? We can no longer sit on the sideline and complain. There are still opportunities. There are very many opportunities in Dallas County, Tarrant County, Collin County, county for you to sign up. It's still time for you to sign up and be a poll worker, okay? It's still time for you to go and be a steward at the ballot. We have to stop complaining about it and start being about it. Get out at the polls in your community and work and protect our right to vote.
To that point, Brother Jackson, I actually applied to the poll. And I talked to Tarrant County. They told me typically presidential election, they have a lot of influx of people who's trying to become judges or poll workers. So
Poll clerk.
Yeah. Or thank you, clerk, yes. But it's more I guess the off-year elections might be more difficult, but I did apply to it. And I remember one time I did go to the training at one point to actually be a clerk. And fortunately, the gentleman had a full team, so I didn't get the phone call. But yes, I definitely agree that definitely more and more of us need to be there to work the actual election polling places.
And you know what, Brother Hawkins, because inevitably, and I go through this spiel all the time on November 4th, we ain't gonna hear nothing but about shenanigans at the poll, and Trump is gonna be on Win or Lose talking about voter fraud and irregularity. That's all we're gonna hear. That's all we're gonna hear for the next week after the election. But if we're there in numbers, right, making sure those things don't happen, then we know the truth about what's going on in the streets, in the community, at the polls. So we have to be there. So those things that we're hearing about, the complaints that we're hearing about from our people, we're making those decisions, right? Okay, we're making those decisions about, okay, do you get to vote now, or do you vote provisional, or does the line end now? It's 7:0, what did you say, 6:59 and 4 seconds? Like, we make those decisions, right? So we have to be there, brothers and sisters. We have to be there. Get out, sign up, and work the polls.
So with that being said, for all of those who have not voted yet, early voting has already started. Early voting dates are October 13th through October 30th. So you have a whole 2 weeks to take advantage of that time. You got a whole 3 weeks to take advantage of that time. So make sure you are taking advantage of early voting. Know your rights. Just as we stated a little bit earlier, if the polls are getting ready to close and you're in line, stay in line. You can still cast your vote. If you make an error on your ballot, you have the right to request a new one. If you are not on the list of registered voted, you can request a provisional ballot. But as we stated earlier, the best thing to do during early voting season is go back and get whatever ID you need to make sure that you can vote that day. If you are a voter with a disability, All polling places must be accessible in accordance with ADA requirements, and they do have curbside voting for you. So do not let that discourage you. You have the right to be free from intimidation, harassment, or coercion while casting your ballot, and you have the right to cast your vote in private. So just remember some of these things as you pull up to your polls to vote, and let's get out there and make this change. Kick it over to Brother President.
All right, I think this was an excellent session. I definitely want to thank the brothers for joining us today and having this conversation. Part 2 of this conversation, we started with voter registration, and now we're in voter education. And we want to make sure that everybody that is out there to vote, that's voting today here on out, that they know their rights, they know what they're voting for, they know all of these different tips that we're allowing them to, that are allowing us to get through this voting season to make it a successful one in whoever's favor, depending on who you want to vote for. So I definitely want to thank the brothers for imparting their good knowledge on today. I definitely learned something. I definitely want to remind you that, we'll be back here next Tuesday on October the 20th, where we'll continue the conversation, Know Your Ballot Part 3. We will be focusing on the positions of railroad commissioner, sheriff, tax assessor, and collector, and the county commissioner, across just talking about what those roles do, some of the misconceptions about those roles, and again, going through who's on the ballot for those. So if you have not voted, we do encourage you to do so between today and the 30th. If by all means you have to do November the 3rd, the election day, stay in line. With that said, I thank you all for joining us today. We had a great conversation. Stay tuned for part 3 and our final installation of voter education on next Tuesday. And with that, I will say good night.
Good night, brothers. Go vote.
Go vote.